Hey everyone, hope you're having an amazing day. It's Code Karen. Welcome to r/Am I the A-hole, where we have 2 incredible stories with comments. If you're new to this channel, a sub would be great. Let's jump to the stories. Our first story is, am I the a-hole for threatening to call the police on my late fiancé's dad because he took her engagement ring without my permission? My fiancé passed away last March from an infection that resulted in complete organ failure. She was 25 and I am 30. I proposed to her at the hospital because the longer I waited, the worse her condition got. We were only engaged for a few days when she went into a coma and passed away. I was devastated. I took it out on everyone and had so much anger and grief. I just couldn't deal with the fact that I had no choice but to start to learn to live without her. It was an incredibly difficult time, and I'm still learning to adapt, but I have some of her personal items, and that brings me comfort and a bit of joy. Lately, her dad has been contacting me because he wants to go through some of my fiancé's stuff. I was under the impression that he already took what he wanted, but I agreed to meet him later that day after I got home from work. 2 hours later, he called me and said he already sorted through her stuff and took what he needed. He must have been given a spare key to the apartment from my late fiancé and never returned it to me. I was crazy mad at this point because I had stuff that was really sentimental to me and I had no idea what he took. I got home and found that among the items he took was my fiancé's engagement ring. The reason I knew he took it was because the ring was in my closet, not with her things. The way my clothes were scattered was an indication he had gone through my closet and took it. I called him several times, and he finally called me back at 11 p.m. I asked him if he took the engagement ring that I proposed to my late fiancé with. He avoided the question, and then said he didn't take it. I totally lost it. I told him he had no right to even be in my bedroom and take something that belonged to me. He corrected me by saying that the ring was on his daughter's finger before she passed away, and therefore it was hers, and he gets to keep it. I argued with him and told him I paid for the ring, and more importantly, this ring belongs with me since it's a symbol of my relationship with my fiancé, and I just can't let go of it like that. He reminded me that I'm not her husband, and that from now on, he doesn't have to deal with me. I got so mad at him, I told him he has 2 days to bring the engagement ring back, or I'll call the cops. He hung up after calling me some nasty names. He told his side of the story to some family and close friends, and they called me and said I was out of my mind to call the police on my late fiancé's father, no matter the reason. They didn't allow me to explain my side of the story and said that my pain and grief are nothing compared to a parent losing a child. They've all called me pathetic and an attention seeker, but I told them that I have absolutely no problem calling the police on him. Does this make me the a-hole? Shumput says, I'm so sorry for your loss. Not the a-hole. What he did was commit burglary. He entered your home without your permission and removed property that didn't belong to him. It doesn't matter that she was his daughter. That doesn't give him any rights to her property. When an engagement ends, it's customary for the ring to be returned. There are a lot of people who feel that an engagement ring is a gift and shouldn't be returned, but it's a symbol of an exchange between a couple, and nobody outside that couple gets a say. Carrie May says, not the a-hole. He did not have permission to enter your apartment and go through your things. You have proof of that, because you explicitly told him in messages not to sort through things without you. What he did was straight up burglary. Also, I can totally understand how your engagement ring might be one of the most special and sentimental tokens that you now have. Taking it was a massive a-hole move on his part. He has absolutely no claim to the ring whatsoever. You bought it and it was in your possession. This is theft, pure and simple. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt and believe he took the ring for sentimental reasons. However, it has no sentimental connection to him, so I'm genuinely worried that he has sinister motives. I would call the cops on him straight away because you don't want him to have a chance to sell it. Is there any doorman in your building, or concierge, or anyone that can corroborate that he entered your building/apartment? As I worry he will deny doing this. I would make a note of everything he took, because the more the items are worth, the more the police are likely to do something. Don't listen to your relatives. You called the guy, you tried to reason with him, it didn't work. Any blowback is now his own fault. C.M. Petty says, first off, I'm so sorry for your loss. I can't understand how difficult this must be for you. Your fiancé's father had no right to use a spare key to get into your apartment, go through your things, take something of incredible sentimental value, and have the nerve to refuse to return the ring. By law, that's breaking and entering, theft, possibly felony depending on the ring, and morally just so wrong. He may have been her father, but you were her fiancé. That ring holds nowhere near the value to him as it does to you, and he has no rights to it, by law. This must be a punch in the gut to have to handle. I'm so sorry you've been put in this situation. I would call the police and explain the situation. They should take things from there. Don't let anyone guilt trip you out of this decision. It's rightfully yours. I'm sure your fiancé would say the same. Guido Lessa says, you asked him to wait for you, but he let himself in and rifled through everything, including your belongings. That guy was on a mission to find valuables that had nothing to do with losing his daughter. Change your locks, because even if you get the key back, he may have made copies. File a report with the police. Ask them to go to him and retrieve your ring, with the agreement that if he hands it over, there won't be charges. In case you aren't aware, an engagement ring is a gift given in contemplation of a marriage, meaning it is conditional to the completion of marriage. If the marriage never occurs, the conditional gift is returned to the giver. That ring belongs to you. To make it official, you are not the a-hole. Please accept my sincere condolences, and going forward, I wish you the very best in life, health, and prosperity. Unicorn Don't Care 69 says, not the a-hole. He stole from you. Just because he had a key, he didn't have your permission to enter. Besides, it's illegal to walk into someone's home and take your stuff. His sole purpose was to take that ring for money, not for sentimental value or because it was a family heirloom, but to steal something that is not even his by familial proxy or tradition. It's just plain stealing. If you have pictures or a receipt, both would be best. Take it to every jeweler and pawn shop and file a police report. Pawn shops are awesome at recovering stolen property because they distract the seller while the police show up, and you possibly get your item back in hours to weeks, and you know immediately where it is and for how long. Also, put up ads for stolen property on Craigslist, Facebook Market, OfferUp, etc. Blow up social media for that ring and all sentimental stuff. He is an awful person. Good luck to you. Her dad can take the ring, but not your memories. Our second story is, am I the a-hole for refusing to invite my brother to my wedding because he kicked me out of his house when I was battling cancer? I, male 25, currently live alone and work as a mechanic. Both my parents are deceased. I have an older brother who took me in after my parents' house was taken, and it was absolutely a difficult time in my life. I was working at an auto shop and had to pay for food and household stuff for my brother and his wife so I could continue to live with them. I couldn't save enough money to move out, and it got worse. My life was turned upside down when I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. At first, several doctors could not identify the type of cancer I had, so I was referred to a specialist, which required more money. I stopped working because I was too weak. My brother's wife completely ignored what I was going through and started complaining about me being at their house and not helping. She kept trying to turn my brother against me, and he ended up getting into a huge argument with me while I was undergoing chemotherapy for the second month. I was kicked out by my brother, who claimed my condition was my own problem and he had no obligation to take care of an adult, just his kids. I was a complete mess, and luckily, a friend of mine took me in. He too was disappointed by my brother's actions and lack of empathy in my darkest days. It was an incredibly difficult time for me. I was mad and frustrated, and this affected my treatment. My brother only showed up once to visit me at the hospital. It's been over 2 years now. My fiancée is finishing her end-of-semester exams and lives in another town. We're getting married in January. For the past several months, my brother has been asking my friends about me and wants to see me, but I refuse to see him. He heard about the upcoming wedding and said he and his wife wanted to come. He has heard that other people were invited, but he wasn't. He does not understand why I'm being hostile toward him. His wife is the one that is encouraging him to call and mend our relationship. Funny. She did the opposite while I was struggling with my health issues. I refuse to give him an invitation or even have a talk with him because he has caused me such heartache over the years, and I don't want to revisit that time in my life. My brother remembers this time very differently and said he thought I was doing okay and that I could handle myself as an adult. He had his own personal issues, and up to this point, had no desire to fix things between us. Now, it seems he has a change in heart, but I'm not ready to forgive and forget just yet. So, am I the a-hole for refusing to invite my brother and his wife to my wedding? Crack the Nut says, not the a-hole. Cancer treatment is one of the hardest things you can go through, and then have your brother's wife get mad that you aren't helping around the house? Chemo takes everything out of you. Then your brother takes her side and kicks you out? No, absolutely not the a-hole. I'm sorry that they did that to you, and I do not blame you one bit for not inviting them to your wedding. Foodie Two Shoes says, forgive and forget are words that people who have never been in that situation throw around because they simply can't understand the gravity of what happened to you. If your brother and the wife weren't taking money from you, you would have been able to save up and get yourself a place of your own. But no, they sucked you dry, then literally left you to die. No, they don't get to act like the victims here. And to be honest, I would tell the whole story to your relatives. If they can't stand your decision and continue to give you crap about it, I'd go as far as uninviting them too. Not the a-hole. Stand your ground. You've made it through so much. This decision to not invite is not important. Only your happiness on your wedding day is important. Rav3Na3L says, not the a-hole. Your brother knew you were struggling, fighting cancer, and he callously threw you out because your diagnosis wasn't his problem? To me, it almost reeks of him trying to appear like he cares when he doesn't. Maybe that's a little cynical or bitter of me, but if your brother truly cared, he would have been there when you were struggling with your treatment, not when everything is sunshine and going well. Maybe I'm wrong, but it just feels like after reading your post, it's just about the appearance of being sorry and not actually being sorry. It's your wedding. It's your day to celebrate and be happy, and you should have people there that support and care for you. Cool Cly says, I think you might be glossing over what things were really like when you lived at their house. The only thing you mentioned is that they asked you to pay for food and household items, and that his wife was tired of you not helping around the house. Now, it could be that they expected you to pay exorbitant rent and pay all their expenses, and to be their personal maid. Or they could have expected the bare minimum of cleaning up after yourself and chipping in on the groceries. It's hard to tell which it is according to you, but there might be a lot that is not truly correct. You could have been a mooching nightmare, and all we hear is that your brother and his wife both said, kick that ungrateful mooch out. You really stress the cancer side of your story, which is naturally going to get people on your side, and it's quite impactful in your recollection of how things happened. But it was your brother's home, and maybe he had to keep harmony with his wife and kids. Not sure. Madam Mayhem says, he didn't understand how bad chemo is? Does he take up residence under a bridge, or possibly a rock? Certainly seems like a troll to me, but you should forgive him. Not for him, but for you. Holding that anger and hurt inside you can be poisonous. However, with that said, forgiving him doesn't mean you have to see or engage with him. Enjoy your wedding, with or without him.